dawned on me. When did the NFL kickoff rules really change? Was it 2 years ago?
Yes. Yeah. So 24.
So the first year was 24, which would correlate potentially with changes and trying to adjust your kicking.
Right. So
rotate like
that may not necessarily correlate to college football because we still kick off the old school way.
And that's why I say that and bring it up, just because obviously the numbers are not what you want to see. Being fired is not what you want to see. The suggestion is, but it sounds like there might have been reason for an inflation of giving up yardage and giving up kickoff returns. And let's be honest, that's a drastic change in the NFL with what has occurred.
And there's a lot of special teams coordinators that are still thrown for a loop on how exactly to work with that. So, yeah, it didn't seem like he adapted to that change in the league as well as some other coordinators did. Again, that doesn't necessarily have a bearing on college football because we still have the old school way of kicking off. And, again, how many kickoffs get returned these days? Not a whole lot. So I wouldn't put as much into that. Now, again, getting personnel on and off the field, that could be something that could be a little bit of a concern, how you develop kickers, because, you're going into now your fourth year with the fourth different kicker, which we assume is going to be Upton Belafonte, coming in from Texas Tech. So, you're breaking in a new kicker. You do have a returning punter in Mason Love. You get your kick and punt returners back with Nick Carver, as well as Vakari Swain, but as well as a new long snapper as well. So a lot of things that he's going to be dealing with this offseason to kind of hopefully make sure that this special teams unit is up to standard this upcoming season.
803-404-6100. Now the question becomes, what do we expect? And here's your thought, because we don't pay attention to special teams unless they are giving up kick returns.
Right.
They're returning
when they're not
punts.
doing their job.
I don't remember anybody at the beginning of the season when Vakari Swain's returning kicks being like, man, that Joe D. Camillus is really drawing it up there for Vakari Swain. Look at that blocking pattern that it was all like, Vakari Swain's doing all the work. And then when, who was the kid who went to Notre Dame? Mitch Jeter. When Mitch Jeter, I think, was 10 of 10 or 11 of 11 in 2023, I don't remember anybody going like, look at Limbo coaching them up out there with those kicks. My goodness.
It is a weird dynamic of how we talk about those kind of coordinators as opposed to offensive, defensive coordinators when it comes to where credit goes, and especially for something like kicking, right? Because, just take Matthew Smiley. He's going to be out there every single day in practice watching these guys kick and punt. And Upton Belafonte, if he's going to be the kicker, can go out there and make every single kick Monday through Friday in practice from 30 yards, 50 yards, 70 yards, for crying out loud. And he says, all right, looks good. And then he goes out there and misses everyone on Saturday. I don't know how much you put of that on Smiley, because at the end of the day, it's up to the kicker to go out there and perform when the lights are brightest. Now, putting him in situations and stuff obviously, can affect that during practice. But if the guy's making his kicks during the week but missing them on Saturdays, and maybe there's an answer to that the nuanced people in special teams can answer better than I can, but I don't know how much you put of that on the special teams coordinator.
Well, I'll also say this, the one thing I truly don't understand is, you're right, what the special teams coordinator, aside from scheming up maybe some trick plays and making sure that
we give him credit for the trick plays. When there's a trick play that's successful, all right, that was a Pete Limbo special right there.
Again, we're not saying a special teams coordinator. It was a Pete Limbo special.
Yes.
I don't remember specific trick plays with Joe D. Camillus, but I know that if we ran any, he didn't get any credit for it.
I don't remember many that were very successful. Okay. There was a few. I think maybe a fake punt or two, but it wasn't.
There's the notorious, unfortunately, I think he was part of it, the notorious Mississippi fake punt, non-fake punt early in the game that basically
that was the worst.
That one.
That was the worst of his tenure here, for sure.
Yeah.
And they didn't run as many fakes, I feel like, compared to the Pete Limbo era. So, we never had to talk about a Joe D. special.
803-404-6100. So we'll see kind of how it all plays out. I forgot about Upton Belafonte out of the transfer portal. Mason Love is still there.
Max Kelly's still around.
They also, remember, just landed the, number 3 long snapper.
Yeah, they got a transfer from West Carolina too. So those guys compete for whoever's going to come out on top there.
And then you still have, as far as punt returner or kick returner, Vakari Swain is back there. Several other options as well. Jaden Sellers could do that.
Is it fair to say, because of what Vakari Swain did in the first 2 weeks of the season, it made the rest of special teams feel underwhelming? because that sets the bar so high.
Yeah.
Of like, oh my God, look what he's doing in the first 3 punt return touchdowns in 2 weeks. And then, like, really nothing of note in special teams after that. Makes it feel like it was worse than it was.
I think it's just it always feels like when you miss kind of big kicks that's the issue. I think the special teams thing, I think the punt return thing, I don't know. I think people were more, especially the way Vakari's occurred, was kind of like, yeah, that's all Vakari Swain, remembering that, what is it, they had touched the ball or something like that.
Well, especially on that one, because he was all kinds of traffic there and somehow got his way out of it and managed to return it. So, I don't think we looked at him like, yeah, good job, Joe D. That was like, no, Vakari's kind of a freak athlete and was able to pull that off.
And we kind of mentioned it. William Joyce this year was fine. I mean,
he was okay. He was decent.
12 of 15. He made everything inside of 40 yards. The 3 that he missed were all outside of 40 yards. He was 5 of 8 outside of 40 yards. Now, I will say this, and then we'll hit the break. You're hiring the special teams coordinator, but let's be honest. South Carolina doesn't plan to punt or kick field goals next year. All touchdowns. All the time.
Listen, if you do that, you make his life easy, where he only has to worry about extra points and kickoffs.
Kick coverage, kick and punt coverage, and punt returning, because South Carolina's not kicking any field goals next year. They're not punting at all. It's just Lenora Sellers and Nick Harbor and everybody else, just touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. No punts at all.
I've always wondered if there would ever be any college coach that would go with the coach that never punts philosophy and just see if it works.
We're just waiting.
Maybe I'll try that on CFB 26. Let you know how that works.
We'll let you and Austin discuss that too in a little while. That could be a strategy for him. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 12:35 on your.
Getting ahead of us.
I am. I'm fired up. Early release day on the halftime show with baseball coming up at 2:00 today.
We have some baseball tickets, by the way, to give away later for the Air Force game on Sunday. So,
all right, so stay tuned
for that.
Stay tuned for that. But right now, joining us is our good buddy, the man of the hour always, because he knows what's going on. Vegas Insider's on. Brian Edwards, who also make sure you check out MajorWager.com. And Brian, you down in Oxford, we taking in basketball this week, or what we got going on?
Yeah, we got the Gators at the Pavilion tomorrow, bright and early, 11 a.m. Central. And that's one of my plays for this week. I'm going to go with the Gators. The only total that's out right now is at FanDuel, and it's 146.5. And I like that over for several reasons. It's the second lowest total of the season for Florida. In fact, they've only had one previous over-under that was in the 140s. That was 145.5 against UConn when the Huskies won 77-73, and the 150 combined went over the 145 and a half. The overs hit in 5 straight for Ole Miss, and all those combined scores would have gone over 146.5. They've had combined scores of 157, 168, 167, 147, and 150. And the overs also hit in 3 straight head-to-head meetings between these teams. And Florida's lost 4 in a row in Oxford. So they're a 12.5-point favorite. That's a touch rich for me. If Ole Miss were to get out to a lead or be playing tough and I could get Florida on a live line a good bit lower than that, I would jump at that in the first half if I could get single digits. But right now, over 146.5, Florida at Ole Miss.
Brian, since we're talking Florida real quick, of course, their last game was against Carolina, 76, 6-2 win. We talked about the other day. Did you kind of feel like maybe they were going through the motions in that a little bit, knowing that that's a team they didn't have to play their best against, where you kind of expect maybe a little more of an uptick as they go through these next couple games?
Well, obviously they didn't come close to covering, but that shows what kind of form you're in when, a game you led by around 20 a couple times and only win by 14, and it's kind of considered a lackluster effort. I like that. I like that that's considered a lackluster effort. And certainly, it wasn't anything like the 95-47 or 48 beating they put on South Carolina in Columbia. But I love how the Gators are playing. When they lost a lot of non-conference games by close margins to high-level competition, Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland were just kind of figuring things out, new to the team, that had a lot of chemistry, especially with the front court, and both guys were shooting the ball very poorly. Well, Xavier Lee has really come on strong here lately, and this is just a different team from the one that lost those games, mostly back in November. I think 1 or 2, and maybe in December as well. But I like the Gators to win it all, to repeat. You could have got 15-1 early in the week at DraftKings. I think DraftKings still has one of the better numbers out there at 13-1. I think it's worth a play. And then with Arkansas losing the other night, they fell down to 50-1. I didn't think Arkansas should have been downgraded the other night. I think they're worth a really small play, not as big a play as I'm talking with Florida, at 50-1. I mean, with Darius Acuff, we're hoping Carter Knox will be back by March, or at some point in March. He had his meniscus repaired yesterday in surgery, so that's a loss for a couple of weeks. But, man, if they're not in foul trouble in a double OT game with Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas, Trevin Brazile, man, Arkansas is going to be tough. They're going to be a tough out in March.
Real quick, you mentioned some of those losses with Florida against Arizona. Is it Chinula? Ruben Chinula only played
Chinelu. Chinelu. One of those.
All right. Their big power forward, who's just a double machine, only played 17 minutes and had 4 points. You're right. You're mentioning Xavier Lee. That young man has come on and is now an absolute monster. He scored in double digits in all but 2 SEC games, which is just insane. That guy is a freak. And then it was an LSU game back in January where he had 15 and 21. he's had 14 and 17. He had 7. The one game he only scored 7 points was against Georgia a couple weeks ago, and he still had 20 rebounds. That's a huge difference, but neither here nor there. Real quick, you just mentioned it, but let's be clear. This is one of your future plays. You do like the Gators now at 13-1 to win the national championship.
Yeah, I recommend that highly, even for a unit or two. Like the Arkansas one, maybe just a quarter unit or a half unit, or maybe just whatever your smallest play is. If your minimum play is $10, maybe just put $10 on Arkansas at 50-1. But I'd say put a strong play on Florida at the 13-1, or even I'm good with it even at maybe even 10-1. But I think 12-1 is. Here, I got FanDuel right here. I think it's down to 11-1 at FanDuel. As long as you're getting 10-1, I think you put a unit or two on Florida. I would make Florida a favorite. Maybe Michigan would be the only team I wouldn't make Florida a slight favorite against on a neutral court right now.
Speaking of Michigan, let's jump to that game because that's a big game tomorrow, 6:30 up in Washington, D.C. Michigan's at -1.5. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Michigan's only been a single-digit favorite 6 times this year. Their last 5, they've covered all 5. In fact, as a 5.5-point favorite to San Diego State, they won by 40. To 5.5-point favorite to Auburn, they won by 30. Or actually, a 2.5-point dog to Gonzaga, won by 40. Those were their 3 games on neutral courts. -2.5 at Sparty, won by 12. -8.5 at Ohio State, won by 21. They're playing Duke in D.C. tomorrow. Look, I like the Duke team a lot, but Michigan's been playing a lot stiffer competition, and I like Michigan. I can't believe I didn't take Michigan laying that super small number to Purdue last week. So there's another small number that I didn't mention because they blasted, and here I got it right here, as they played, let's see, my computer is doing me wrong here. Here we go. They played Purdue -2.5 last week and won by 11. So, I like Michigan -2.5 in D.C. against Duke tomorrow.
That's part of kind of a preview of the Final Four because you got those 2 squaring off in D.C. Then you got Arizona and Houston squaring off. We were texting earlier. You were going to go Arizona, but after finding out Koa Pete's going to be out, not feeling comfortable at that, I believe, 5.5 is that line?
Yeah, and, that made a lot of sense because I couldn't believe the line was 5.5. I had made Houston a 2-point favorite, but I think Pete's worth several points to the line. I don't know if I would say it's 3.5 points to the line, but at least 2, maybe 2.5. I'm going to pass on that with Koa Pete being out. Looks like he might be – I think he could play if it was the NCAA tournament. It's some sort of lower leg strain. But I think Tommy Lloyd wants to get him right, and so I think they're going to sit him out at least next 2, maybe even more. But he's okay, though. He's going to be fine in March.
Real quick, we got about a minute left with you here. A couple SEC games tomorrow, Georgia, Texas, and Vanderbilt, Tennessee.
Yeah, so Georgia, Texas, I'm going to go with Texas. They're playing fantastic right now. They're +1.5 at FanDuel. That's the only line that's out. Texas 6-1 against the spread on the road. Okay, they've won 5 in a row, regardless of venue. It gives Georgia revenge, but they beat Georgia by 20 already at home. And Texas has won 8 of the last 11. And the 3 losses were all close games. They led at Auburn most of the way. And Georgia 2-5 straight up, 3-4 against the spread their last 7. Obviously, great win against Kentucky. It was great to get Jeremy Wilkinson back. But they've lost 3 in a row at home. Vandy and Tennessee. If Duke Miles is upgraded and plays and Vandy's -1.5, I would like Vandy. But the line moved from 3.5 to 1.5. It makes me think Duke Miles isn't playing. We'll know when the injury report at 8:10 p.m. Eastern tonight.
Brian, we always appreciate it, buddy. Great info. Enjoy the game tomorrow down in Oxford. Hope your Gators do well. And we look forward to catching up with you next week, talk a little college basketball.
Thanks, gentlemen. You have a great weekend.
Take care.
Thanks.
Brian Edwards, VegasInsider.com, MajorWager.com. You want to get involved in some soda betting tomorrow? Maybe put a Coca-Cola or a Dr. Pepper on the game. Totally understand. Look up Brian Edwards' sites there, VegasInsider, MajorWager.com. Make it part of your morning reading. 803-404-6100. We'll come back, and we will talk a little NBA tanking. New rules. Will it work? You're listening to the Halftime Show.
Welcome back in. Halftime show. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, Captain Dave, along with you here on your Friday. We'll get into the NBA conversation around tanking in just a moment. But first, as Gamecock baseball gets set for its weekend series, tournament, whatever you want to call it, against the service academies, we have more tickets to give away. This being 2 family 4-packs to go see the Gamecocks take on Air Force coming up on Sunday at 4 o'clock over at Founders Park. College number 4 and 5 right now at 803-404-6100. Go see the Gamecocks in action. Captain Dave waiting to take your call again, 803-404-6100 to go see the Gamecocks and the Falcons of Air Force.
Little schedule adjustment. We've gotten a text message from Chris Deering.
Yes.
He will not be on the show today. He's had a kind of an emergency pop up. So we'll get you through the next hour here, coming up until about 1:40, where we will talk some baseball in hour number 2 and get set for, again, South Carolina and Army scheduled to play today. Get a chance to see Riley Goodman back on the mound. Riley Goodman, of course, if you've listened to this show, a personal favorite of the one and only Jamie Bradford. So we'll catch up with him and get you set for that. But our show again today will run about another hour up until about 1:40. Tyler came across, now I know for you NBA fans, NBA talk is rare around here, but...
Well, it's the stuff that off the court that's the most interesting this time of year.
So well, this is this is why I find this really interesting. And Austin is sitting in with us. He's an NBA fan, and he keeps up with it. And I go back to this, like, maybe as a kid, because as a kid, I never saw this. You didn't have baseball players sitting out, or you didn't have NBA players sitting out. Now we have load management, right? Load management is the key word here, NBA. So as a parent, I'm giving my son, let's just say, a gift. Hey, we're going to go watch. I'm just going to use examples right now, but let's say we're going to watch the Lakers. Oh, you want to go watch LeBron? He's your favorite player, and LeBron decides, I'm not playing against Charlotte tonight. We're better than them. I'm sitting this one out. I can sit this one out. Are you hurt? No. Are you sick? No. Hey, I'm just sitting out. Well, who's the loser there? We are, as the fans.
Yeah.
You're paying top dollar to go see LeBron, and so this is where you kind of draw the line. We're gonna take this to the college discussion coming up in the next segment, the top of the hour with Darren Peterson. But Austin, you're going to see a game you're going to see the Hornets on the 28th. You're going to see the Hornets on the 28th. When you go to see them, I'm trying to look to see who they play that particular night, but you're probably looking for a particular player that you'd be LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Con Knopfel. Get next to the mic. Thank goodness we're doing this for job chatting so you can learn. Anyway, but if you went to see them, like, as a 13-year-old, how disappointed would you be if, I don't know, LaMelo Ball's not playing?
That would be pretty upsetting, especially if that's what I looked forward to the most and he didn't play. Or
So
he
they're-
wasn't going to play.
They're playing Portland, by the way. So they're playing Portland. But, yeah, like, Tyler, I mean, like, you ever remember going to a game?
I've never encountered that where somebody I was looking forward to wasn't playing, or load management or whatever, but it is a common thing now, and that goes into teams intentionally not trying to win, which goes to the tanking conversation that the NBA All-Star Weekend was this past weekend, and I feel like Adam Silver, because he does this kind of state of the sport address, as all commissioners do every single year, was answering more questions about that than anything else. Like, it's become a serious problem in the league with so many teams intentionally trying not to win to help themselves out for the draft coming up.
And is it Shams Charania? Charania has
He's
put out.
He's the new Woj.
Yeah. I know he is. Just his last name will get me. But you've got a tweet here with the list of ideas or new rules that will be implemented for the 2027 season.
Yeah, so they're bouncing around a couple of different ideas of how they could combat tanking. One of them is first-round picks can only be protected top 4, top 14 plus. Lottery odds freeze at the trade deadline or a later date. No longer allowing teams to pick top 4 in consecutive years or after consecutive bottom 3 finishes. Teams can't pick top 4 the year after making the finals. That's a Pacers rule for this year. Lottery odds allocated based on 2-year records instead of 1. Lottery extended to include all play-in teams as well, or flatten the odds for all lottery teams so the worst record you have doesn't get you more balls in the lottery.
How do you feel about that? What is your, as you read those rules? They're a little complicated, not
Right.
just because there's a lot of wordage there that you'd have to kind of go back and use examples of. And you mentioned the Pacers.
What I've read and heard from experts in the past 24 hours about this, I don't know if there's any rule that's open and shut. Like, yes, that would definitely fix it because there's almost ways around all these to some degree. Where I don't think you have anything here specifically. It's like, yeah, that's going to fix the problem they're trying to fix here.
Austin, from what you've seen of tanking in the NBA, I mean, you see the rules changes. How big of a problem do you think tanking is trying to end up? Now, Austin and I on the way here, we're talking about this draft class in particular. You might be more willing to tank to.
Sure. A lot of good guys.
This is a deep draft class. But Austin, what is your personal opinion of tanking?
I think, personally, I think tanking has always been a thing in a way. Obviously, not to the degree it has been now. But I just think, like...
Is it less hidden now? Is that what you're saying?
I think in some ways it's painfully obvious now for some teams, or if you're the Pelicans, you're just a bad team. But, yeah, I don't exactly know the, who is looking at the bottom of the league. I mean, you have, the Kings, the Pacers, and the Pelicans, who have just been bad team. I mean, the Kings have not really had it together since they had the playoffs with the Warriors. But to answer your question, I think it's a problem that definitely has to be addressed in a way sooner.
And Tyler doesn't think that necessarily this solves that issue.
Well, and again, there are people that have more insight on this than me, but I haven't seen anybody look at any of these solutions say, yes, that is definitely what they should do because that'll fix the problem. There are almost kind of ways around all of this to a degree. So I don't know. And again, if the NBA would have figured out a solution, they probably would have come up with it by now. So they're trying things, and we don't know which of these are going to get implemented and which of them aren't. But they're desperately trying to curb tanking because, quite frankly, it's affecting interest in the league.
Right.
Because when half of your teams aren't trying to win, then it's like, okay, why am I going to tune in as a fan?
Yeah, and you both of y'all mentioned it. I mean, right now you got the Mavericks at 19 in the Western Conference. The Mavericks are at 19-35. That'd be a prime team to be tanking because you need to lose several to work your way into a better draft odds slot. The Utah Jazz are 18-38. They did just trade for Jaren Jackson, but we're learning if they're going to tank or not. Y'all mentioned the Pelicans who stink and the Kings who are really, really bad. And then you go to the other side of the league, the Wizards perennially bad. Pacers, well, we kind of know what happened with them, and then you got the Brooklyn Nets all with 15 wins.
Oh.
I mean, that's right there. That's 6 teams with 18 or less wins.
Yep.
Good job, Austin. We'll keep you for one more segment. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Hour 2 on the way. I would like to start hour number 2, which will be our final hour, by issuing an apology.
Okay.
I would like to drag you into this and blame you as well,
Oh, no.
but
What'd I do?
kind of not your fault. But I'm going to do it anyway. We made a mistake yesterday, and we nearly hurt one of our coworkers.
Uh-oh. What did we do?
Well, for those that don't know, Tyler and I are like the two like cold-blooded like reptiles that are running around this. Like both of us love the heat in here.
This is true.
All right, both of us we turned at 12 in the afternoon. We turned the heat on in our studio. So I didn't know about it. So yesterday, just with the weather and everything, this studio gets cold. To me, it gets. I think Tyler agrees. It gets cold, and so I think early in the show I cut the heat on, and both of us were comfortable. We were great.
Yeah.
We're again unique in that way compared to everybody else. So apparently, Terry went into the producer studio, and somehow they're connected. Nobody around here knows. Nobody
Yeah,
understands how it
I haven't
works.
figured out how they correlate.
No, nobody. It's
But they do.
The great mystery of our station. But apparently Terry went on. Apparently he compared it to a sauna. I didn't hear it. But he was trying to figure out why it was so hot, what had happened.
Yeah.
Well, it felt so good to us. I forgot that we had cut the heat on,
Okay.
and you and I were fine.
Yeah.
Like to us, it felt good. So I didn't even think about cutting arrows. So I do have to issue an apology to Terry Ford, because if you heard him yesterday, we about saunaed him out of the room.
I will say that room over there, for those watching the live stream where Dave's sitting with computers and monitors and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of heat generated in there anyway, and it's a
Yeah.
smaller space, so it heats up really quick. So, yes, sorry, Terry.
Yeah.
He blamed me, by the way.
Oh, he did?
He did.
Okay, then we're off the hook.
It was Dave's fault.
Yeah. He's like, what are you doing, man? You going to kill me in
I
here?"
retract everything I just said. Dave apologizes for his actions yesterday.
Dave, he
Sorry.
should apologize. Y'all should all apologize to me because he.
I heard somebody. Well, because it's a common, like, if you listen to me for the better part of 9 years, you know how much I despised it being cold at 6 a.m. in the morning. I made no bones about that. So it's a well-known thing that I don't handle the cold well at all, and now I'm just an angry, grumpy 43-year-old when it's cold. And yesterday it was just a little slight chill in here. We cut the heat on, and yeah, we don't know how exactly. Trust me, we have no understanding of how our thermostat controls the producer room as well.
Well, it's better than it was, because we used to have a person that worked here that locked the thermostat.
That's
It would not
true.
let us touch it. So shout out to our new guy, Randy, that does let us fiddle with it, even if we're maybe not responsible.
Yeah, I did make the joke. I think I was partially the one responsible for them putting a lock box on the thermostat. And maybe yesterday was a proof of why there was a lock box. But yeah, our new engineer has allowed us to get into it, and now we create havoc for Terry and poor Jay too. I know Jay hadn't been in studio in a while, but Jay doesn't handle heat well. Jay handles heat worse, the worst out of any of us.
The funny thing is Terry had to remind me, he's like, hey, make sure before like y'all's last segment to turn it down so it's to a decent level, because Jay could sweat in Antarctica, right? Like he's just a natural sweaty person. So we were setting him up for failure when he was following us.
Yeah, it was a. So we apologize as a family unit, as a team. Terry, we apologize. Although now that I am aware that Dave got blamed, I believe it was Dave's fault.
Thanks for taking the sword, Dave, for that one.
buddy.
That's why I'm here, apparently.
Good to have you. Good to have you. 803-404-6100. How you can weigh in. Unfortunately, Chris Deering has had an emergency pop up. He will not be joining us, and not that there's not always stuff to talk about. It's just that this week there was a lot to talk about, and we were kind of excited. So we may have to figure something out with him coming up early part of next week to recap, not build off all kinds of stuff on 2 weeks. But Chris Deering having an emergency, he'll be without us. So we'll catch back up with Austin here in a segment, and we're going to talk Darren Peterson. But I think the biggest question that we'll get to in the next segment on Darren Peterson, what are you willing to deal with? And I want y'all to think about this before we get there. What are you willing to deal with for elite recruits? Like, where is your kind of pressure point of like, no, you don't have complete control over our university and your playing time. We'll talk about that coming up next. But again, later on today, South Carolina baseball actually in about 55 minutes set to take on Army and Tyler. It'll be interesting. I've not seen, but I have not looked a baseball lineup put out yet, because I do think we're kind of looking for to see if Will Craddock finds his way onto the field today.
Yeah, actually, yes. We actually just had it come out a few minutes ago.
Okay.
Will Craddock will start at first base for Bo Hollins, just like he did the other night, which kind of expected. Again, Hollins coming back from the injury, and when you have somebody that had a great debut like Craddock did, you want to get him out there. And as Maneri mentioned the other day, you want to get him out there in the field as much as possible to try and find a place for him. So he's going to be starting. We'll see what happens the rest of the weekend. But, yeah, for the most part, it looks like the rest of the starting 9 is pretty normal. Sutter's back at second base. Obviously, he had the home run that ended the game the other night against Gardner-Webb, as he's looking to kind of get things back on track at the plate. But, yeah, that's Craddock being at first base, again, the most notable part of the starting lineup. Everything else, for the most part, stays the same.
Yeah, so Bo Hollins is a very, very good player. Bo Hollins has a chance to be a professional one day with continued development and so forth and so on. But, Tyler, it seems like he might get, Lou Gehrig here? Or Wally Pipp. Lou Gehrig took Wally Pipp's spot.
Yep.
Will Craddock might just be that good that you can't keep him off the field, and that he is just better than Bo Hollins, and now you got to figure out what to do with Bo Hollins.
Maybe so, and I don't have it in front of me. I can't remember what all positions Craddock can play, or can you move him to that DH spot as well? So maybe you can move him around a little bit when you feel like Hollins is back up to full strength, because, again, he had a very solid freshman year himself, and we were very excited about what he was going to be coming into the year. But at least for the moment, while you're still trying to get him back to 100%, ride with the hot hand, see what Craddock can do, especially over the course of maybe an entire weekend with 3 different opponents, and maybe a little bit more of a step up in competition than what he saw against Gardner-Webb. And I think we're all going to be anxious to see what happens every time he comes to the plate.
Lineup today: Tyler Bach and KJ Scobie go 1-2 in the lineup. Reese Moore, the DH, at batting third. Talmadge Lecroy, fourth. Ethan Lizama? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Left field. And batting fifth there. Will Craddock batting sixth at first base. Dawson Harmon batting seventh at third base. Patrick Evans in right field. He'll bat eighth. And Logan Sutter, as you mentioned, batting at ninth. Again, I like those first 4 batters. And then you throw Craddock in there. Man, I feel like that is an SEC lineup there, and you just want to see them build on it through these, especially like this weekend leading into next weekend's Clemson series.
Yeah, and that's to be successful in this league, you got to have production throughout your entire lineup. Patrick Evans has done some good things so far this season as well, so you can look up and down that starting 9 and see areas saying, okay, I can rely on this guy, look at this guy to do some good things, and hopefully that proves true. I think you're going to be in a good situation today. Army's not starting their usual Friday ace, Andrew Berg. They're moving him to game number 2 coming up tomorrow. So Trey Addis, I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, who had a pretty rough outing against Clemson last weekend, going to get the start. There's also an Army team that doesn't score a lot of runs. They're towards the bottom of the nation when it comes to batting average. So I think this is a game that, could hopefully go pretty handily in the favor of South Carolina before you take on a little bit tougher competition with Navy and Air Force the next 2 days.
This is a weekend that means a lot to Paul Maneri, playing the service academies. He has designed this and set this up himself, and yesterday he was asked about the meaning of playing the service academies. Here's what he had to say.
I've actually touched on a little bit with them, but we're going to have a team meeting here in about an hour, and I'm really going to explain to them in depth what makes this weekend's game so special. These kids that go to these 3 institutions have made a decision to volunteer themselves, to put themselves in harm's way, to be the custodians of our way of life. I mean, how can you not respect that? We take it for granted. We take for granted so many of the things that we have in life, like being able to go out and play college baseball games. But, like the old saying, freedom is not free. Somebody has to go out there to protect that way of life for us. And we're the only country in the world, I think, that has a completely volunteer armed forces. And these young people, hey, look, it's a great opportunity for them. They go to a very prestigious institution. They get a quality education. It's paid for by us, the taxpayers. But what they're going to do once they graduate is beyond what most other college baseball players are going to do. And as they graduate, they're commissioned as officers into their branch of the service, and they're going to be leaders of our country. They're going to be leaders of leading men and women into battle to, like I said, to keep our way of life intact. So, my 6 years that I was coaching at the Air Force Academy really gave me a great appreciation for what they do.
If you didn't know, again, if you didn't know at all, Paul Mainieri did coach at Air Force, which is where his affinity for the service academies came from. He coached for 6 years, starting in 1989. He, at the time, left as the second winningest coach in Air Force history at that point. That's when he then moved on to Notre Dame. So you see where the affinity for the academies came from. And when he's sitting there explaining it, he understands it because he had to coach kids that were going through that situation and what they were dealing with.
Yeah, if you're somebody that doesn't like the current state of college sports with NIL and the portal and stuff like that, and miss the guys that play for the love of the game, well, you get an opportunity to see 3 teams that are all about that this weekend. I believe Service Academy kids can't even earn NIL, and they're just truly on scholarship the way that it used to be across all sports for college. So I'm excited. There's going to be a lot of pageantry this weekend as well. Mainieri mentioned in talking to the media yesterday, they're going to do a salute to the players of those teams. So usually it's kind of a salute to the people of service that are in the crowd, but this will be a direct salute to those players on the other team for obviously what they're going to do once they're done, in college and go and obviously serve their various military obligations. So yeah, going to be cool. A lot of patriotism this weekend between that, the Olympics and everything. So looking forward to seeing all that.
He is Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, Austin Gunner sitting in with us, Captain David there. When we come back, we'll get into the Darren Peterson story. But again, the bigger story here is when you land elite recruits, elite recruits, what are you willing to deal with in terms of their attitude and their effort? Darren Peterson has not been an off-the-field issue in terms of causing, problems. His problem is, where is his focus in terms of playing for the University of Kansas?
And is it him or is it somebody else that's kind of pulling the puppet strings here?
We'll talk about this when we come back. You're listening again to the Halftime Show. 1:17 on a Friday. About 30 minutes, a little less than 30 minutes. I think we're going to 1:43.
Yep.
Is that the exact time? All right, we're going to 1:43. So we will carry you up to 1:43, and then we'll get you set for baseball this afternoon. Should be a really fun, entertaining weekend. Reminder, there is another game scheduled, by the way, for this afternoon.
Navy Air Force.
Navy Air Force. So, and the way I read the ticket situation, have you read this?
Yes, it's good for the whole day.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you've got a South Carolina ticket, but I believe also, and I could be wrong about this, that the Navy Air Force game is free. So if you only show up to that, because if you wait after you can't show up in the ninth inning of South Carolina Army, but if you wait after the game ends, it's first come, first serve seating.
That's awesome. And you'll have that tonight. You'll have Army Air Force as well tomorrow. I guess that's after Carolina plays because they play the early game. And then no Army Navy. They will not play each other this weekend because they got 2 series later on this weekend. But Marshall, who is playing at the Citadel this weekend, is going to come up, and they are going to play Navy on Sunday, and Army's going to go down and play the Citadel. So they're basically swapping opponents. So you got a lot of great action this weekend over at Founders.
803-404-6100. Again, that's coming up here in about 25 minutes for y'all. 803-404-6100 if you hear something you want to weigh in on. Bill Self was not happy this week. Darren Peterson scores 23 points, but does it in 18 minutes against Oklahoma State.
I think it was all the first half, too.
Yeah. There's video. There's video of Darren Peterson hitting a 3 right in front of the Kansas bench. Well, no, it had to be because he was in front of the Kansas bench, so it had to be in the second half. Mm-hmm. And he turns around and looks at Bill Self and makes a symbol like, get me out.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. And you can see Bill Self, you can see visual frustration. Like, just kind of spins around, like, just get him, whatever. After the game, Bill Self talked about Darren Peterson's latest self-benching.
Well, we've had it more than a couple of times, and I didn't anticipate that tonight at all. I thought he was good to go, but obviously we only got 18 minutes out of him, and that's disappointing because he could have had a really big night. But one thing about it is it's happened often enough that our guys have learned to play without him, even though that's not the way we want to play. But that's certainly something that we're not unaccustomed to, right now.
Well, let's start with this. Let's start with the actual situation before we branch out into how South Carolina, as a fan, you would feel if Lenore Sellers is just like, I ain't playing the series. That's the guy that I go to, Lenore Sellers.
Yeah,
like Dylan,
it's the most comparable
Dylan
to what
Stewart.
this is.
Dylan Stewart, basically, like, remember there was a lot of talk like, is Dylan Stewart pulling out at the Mississippi game?
Because we're like, oh no, is this where he kind of checks out for the year? And to his credit, he didn't.
And he
back. Played all the way to the end and came back. So we didn't have that situation, thankfully.
But let's start with Kansas in big picture here. Like, they're having to deal, and that felt like Bill Self being as nice as he could, as literally nice as he could, without putting the kid down, but basically saying, yeah, we're sick of this.
Well, and you can hear that in his voice, just like, it's tired of talking about it, right? Like, again, it's happened multiple times. I know he sat out the Arizona game that they won back when Arizona was still number 1, and I think he had, like, sickness or whatever for that game. And here's the thing. He's coming up with these injuries or reasons that, like, you can't prove whether he is or not. I think the other night he said he was cramping, and, like, unless you're in his body, you don't really know if he's cramping or not, as opposed to like a broken leg or torn ACL or something along those lines. So he's coming up with excuses that are really hard to refute. Like, I can't tell you if you're not feeling well or not. And if you think that's going to affect your game, then you're going to sit out. But, yeah, it's becoming one of those things that's becoming very frequent. And I think we're all waiting to see, like, what's this guy do in the tournament, right? Because Kansas is a team, especially with him, that is capable of going on a deep run. But if he looks at it and says, all right, I've made enough money. I don't know what his NIL contract says, if he has to play through March or not. I've made enough money. Got me the number 1 pick. Y'all got it. I'm just gonna go ahead and check out. Y'all can handle March by yourself. Like, that could happen.
Austin, how do you see this playing right now with Darren Peterson in Kansas, that particular situation?
It's crazy for me because, like, no one's ever seen really anything like this.
At the college level.
At the college level, I mean, we saw some situations with Joel Embiid in the NBA, but it's never been at the college level like it is now. And, I mean, for me to see this, and it's like, even when he's playing, as we all know, there's no effort there. I mean, there's clips of him just standing in the corner hoping he gets the ball. I mean, it's crazy. I've not been seen before.
When you think about guys like Zion Williamson who blew out a shoe.
Yeah. The panic when that happened.
Yeah. But you're right. But we'll see what happens. But the Bill Self comments, you can tell it's just like finally he's like, because this has been brewing. This has been brewing and brewing and brewing. And Kansas is a national championship contender. And let's be very clear about Darren Peterson before we move on about this. He's going to be a top 3 draft pick.
Yeah.
That this is not affecting his draft stock. This is having zero to do. There is no, if you've paid attention to any of it, and Darren Peterson is a stud. As I just said, 23 points in 18 minutes the other night. Absolute monster. He may very well be the top pick in the draft. It's going to kind of be determined on who gets it and if they trust Peterson or not. But this is the question. You get a player like that, what are you willing to deal with? Where is your threshold of you're in control, but I'm the coach? Or what, like, because Darren Peterson is running Kansas basketball right now, essentially.
Sure.
And Bill Self, you can hear it. It's kind of like he didn't know he was signing up for this, and now he's in it, and he's trying to figure the best way to handle it.
Well, and I think it's very comparable to what happened with Nico Imaliava last year at Tennessee. And this, again, goes back to my question of, is this Darren Peterson, or is it people in his ear telling him, hey, here's what you should do, here's what you should do, this is in your best interest, and all that kind of stuff? Because Nico Imaliava was making moves that were above the team, and Josh Heupel said, I don't care how good of a quarterback you are, 5-star, whatever, get out. Go to UCLA, and they figured it out with Joey Aguilar. So it's becoming a bit of a growing trend with these high-level players that kind of know, obviously they have the money, and they have some semblance of control to see how far they can take it. And I almost wonder if Bill Self wouldn't just say, you know what, you're a great player, but, man, we're going to do this without you if you want to walk away and get ready for the draft or whatever, because I'm sick of dealing with this stuff. Because again, when he's out there on the court, he looks like the best player in the country. But you just don't know on a night in, night out basis, A, if he's going to play at all, and B, when he's out there having a hot night, when he decides to say, all right, I've had enough, I'm going to go sit for the rest of the game. And that's frustrating as a fan because you want to be able to rely on people, right? Like we talk about Sellers, talk about Stewart. As long as they're healthy, you know what you're going to get out of them. And if you're in a tight game late, you know you can rely on those guys to go out there and make plays. With Darren Peterson, you don't have that.
Well, it's just, in Austin, I'll let you weigh in on this. As a coach, if you're Shane Beamer, if you're Lamont Paris, if you're Paul Maneri, if you're Don Staley, if you're Bill Self, you get the point. If you're a coach and you don't know what your player is going to do, and particularly your stud player, that's really tough to handle.
Yeah, I was looking at, so with Darren Peterson playing, Kansas is 11-4. He has played 2 games below 20 minutes. He played 20 minutes in a win against BYU and 18 minutes in a win against Oklahoma State. Other than that, he's played more 30-minute games than he's played less than 20-minute games. But more of the point is the fact that he's not been playing in some games, like when he didn't play against Arizona and Arizona beat him.
No, they beat
Kansas, other way around.
Kansas
sorry.
beat
Which shows that if you're Bill Self, having Darren Peterson out there, obviously he's averaging 20 points per game right now, so he's an essential part of your team, but you don't exactly need him out there to not be a contender. I mean, if you have him out there, you are. And you want to have him out there because he's one of the best players in the country, if not the, depending on what you want to look at.
Do you think they can win a championship without Darren Peterson? I don't think they can.
It's debatable. I mean, again, if you beat Arizona without him, that tells you a lot. But
good point.
To be able to go on a deep run in the tournament, you usually need to have your best player for that. And I don't doubt their ability to make a Sweet 16 or Elite 8, but Final Four, national championship, you probably need them. But again, does Bill Self get to the point where, like, just forget it, go on, figure out the next level, and we'll figure it out ourselves here?
I think at this point in the season, you know what he is, you know who he is, you know the risks now of going into any game, you deal with it. And I think that's where coaches have to draw the line. Now, would Bill Self have signed up for this had he known? That's the question. If Shane Beamer knows ahead of time that you're recruiting a quarterback, let's just use Landon Duckworth because he's the quarterback coming in.
Sure.
Who is going to be like, well, again, and what we're talking about here is a situation where, let's just say it's the middle of the third quarter and Landon Duckworth or, again, it could be Lenora Sellers, it could be Dylan Stewart. Like you're like, all right, offense, go out there, and Sellers is like, I'm not going out on this one.
Yeah.
I got my hammy, little hammy issue, and you're like, what do you mean? You were fine? Hammy. You can send them out there.
Yeah. Well, and you also wonder as well that, what does this do for other like top end guys that are expected to be lottery picks? That how do they view it going forward? Like, hey, Darren Peterson did this and he still got his money, still became top pick, top 3 pick, whatever it may be. Maybe I do the same thing. Like, you wonder if there's a copycat trend following this.
I don't know if in football it would work because, again, of the time.
Yeah, because basketball, you are coming in and out.
In basketball, what I was going to know, in basketball, there's only 1 year to get to the pros. Football, like if Lenoris is doing that, but we all know other schools are going to take him. He could be at South Carolina for a year and then transfer to, Miami and then go to Texas A&M. But the point on all this is like, that's a great point. If players look at Darren Peterson, and maybe it's more relevant to basketball, but if players look at Darren Peterson and they're like, well, this didn't affect his draft stock, I'm going to, during recruitment, during my time, I'm going to tell the coach, hey, there's load management. I'll finish with this story. The story is, now he was supposedly injured, but the story is, back in the day, 2011, whatever it was, 2012, Jadeveon Clowney's junior year. You know the story?
Yeah, I do.
They went to play Wofford, and Clowney that week was like, I'm not playing. Now, that's the story. Now, he magically was injured. The reason, and this makes sense, Wofford did cut blocking, and Clowney was advised, don't play. You suffer an injury in a game, y'all should win without you. Your career could be over.
Right.
And I would actually agree with Jadeveon Clowney on that. I think that was the right move. I'm not accusing anything, but that was the story back in the day of Jadeveon Clowney against Wofford, and he didn't play.
Yeah, yeah, and again, that would make sense. But this is a different kind of animal, and yeah, I'm interested to see how it plays out.
803-404-6100. We'll come back, kind of recap everything, and get out of here. You're listening to the Halftime Show.
All right, welcome back in. Halftime show. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, Captain Dave, wrapping things up on your Friday here on the game. Again, about 8 minutes from now, we'll get you out to Derek and Stuart on the call for Gamecock baseball taking on Army. For game number 1 this weekend, they got Navy tomorrow, and then game number 3 on Sunday as they take on Air Force. And before we get out of here, I do have 2 more family 4-pack of tickets to give away to callers number. Let's go 2 and 3 at 803-404-6100. Again, family 4-packs to go see South Carolina take on Air Force to wrap up the weekend Sunday at 4 o'clock over at Founders Park. Captain Dave anxiously awaiting to take your call. He loves giving away tickets more than anything else. So we're giving him 1 or 2 more sets to give away.
We do ask politely, do not give him a risque email address.
Yes, give him the one that you would be comfortable putting on a job application.
That's a good point. Yeah, that we don't too much information.
You can tell a lot about a person by their email address, by the way.
Yeah, okay, all right. I got 2 easy ones. I've got a nickname from high school with my basketball number that was like my original one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got what I deemed like my post-college one.
Yeah.
But I'll say this is both of those that I use are AOL accounts.
Okay, so they are old.
I still go with the AOL account. It works perfectly fine.
I have my Yahoo account that I created in like 8th grade that now is just anytime I have to like go to an app or a website and they're like, oh, we're going to send you emails. I'm like, all right, use this one. I never really check it anyway. And then I have like my one that's my name that's more of a professional one that I feel like I can put on documents and things like that and people can understand it and you know it's not full of numbers and random letters and stuff like that.
No. So Austin, you only got 1 email address, right? You got whatever your school email address is you got signed up for?
I have 2. I have my school and then my personal one.
Oh, okay.
But it's not an AOL because
And what grade are you in?
8th.
They have 8th grade email addresses now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't set those up though.
Yeah, they got. It's kind of like it's honestly kind of like going to college now, where when you went to
Really?
college, they
Wow.
give you a, yeah. So he's got 2.
I'm showing my age now because I'm like, we didn't have that back when I was in 8th grade.
No,
15 years ago.
No, we didn't. No, we definitely didn't have it. Well, if you're in 8th grade now, we didn't have it 30 years ago.
16 years ago now. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, welcome to being old, Tyler. Welcome to being old. 803-404-6100. We haven't talked much about it, but basketball this weekend. South Carolina plays Mississippi State tomorrow. Yeah, like I hate to say it. There's 7 games left, y'all, and it's kind of like we're waiting around just to see what's going to happen. It's like, all right, just get these games over with, or just tell us your decision, Donati, and let us enjoy 7 games. Whatever you're going to do, just it's like, all right, I don't know. Y'all speak. I'll speak for me. Tyler, you speak, and then Austin, you speak. It's almost like, the suspense is killing me. What are we going to do? Let's just make a decision to move forward.
Yeah, it's the anticipation of, when someone tells you, oh, I got something to tell you, and they're like, I'm going to tell you this weekend. So you go through the next 3 days like, oh, my God, I'm waiting for the weekend to find out what this thing is. Like, tell me now so I kind of know what the deal is. And, yeah, it's the same thing where, theoretically, if you went on a winning streak to close out the season, that could be worth something to potentially bringing Lamont Paris back. But I think for the most part, could you pop a win or 2? Sure, including tomorrow against Mississippi State. But I feel like for the most part, these remaining games are inconsequential. Like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and I don't think these games are really going to change that for the most part. So, yeah, Jeremiah Donati, you're on the clock. Are you either keeping Lamont Paris and telling us why that's a good decision and, investing more resources into him or whatever it may be, or saying, all right, we tried this, it didn't work, now I'm going to go out there and make my first big hire as the AD here.
Austin, Austin unfortunately had to go through a coaching change this year over at Gilbert basketball. How do you see what the players are going through right now? I don't know if the players are like a guy like Eli Ellis or Grant Polk or E.J. Walker, who would technically be back next year, how they would be handling this.
Well, if you're a player, you always kind of have a feeling, especially, with South Carolina being and having the record they have now, they know that, most likely this is the last ride with Lamont. If things don't miraculously change or Donati gives them another year, they have a feeling. You just have that feeling naturally. So I think they kind of look at it as, well, I'll take what I can take from him and see, who we get, or if with the new age, who I have in the portal, my options there.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens, but again, it feels, it's not appropriate to say it's like Christmas, but it does feel like we were waiting from March 12th, March 13th, somewhere in there, to get an answer from Jeremiah Donati to tell us. Because, again, whether he keeps him or not, he can keep. If Jeremiah Donati believes in Lamont Paris and thinks that giving him more NIL money will help fix the issue, I'm all for it. Like I'm not anti Lamont Paris needs to be fired, contrary to how I might sound on here. I think Lamont Paris, I think the school has to give Lamont Paris or whomever more resources. I think it starts at the administrative level. But with that being said, if you're going to just clean house and start over with everything, let's just make that decision to move.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I think as time has gone on, and again, we went back to a couple weeks ago where he had no game in the midweek. We're like, hey, you could have made a decision then or announced something and nothing happened. I think the later we get into this, the more people are entertaining the idea that Lamont Paris might end up coming back. And again, we don't have insight from Jeremiah Donati at this point to know one way or the other, but that is a very realistic possibility. And obviously the money comes into that because of the buyout and all that kind of stuff. And you do have to factor in the fact that he's not had resources on par with a lot of other teams in the SEC. So maybe Donati likes what he is as a coach, but says, hey, I'm going to go out there and guarantee you we're going to get X amount more $1 million that you can spend to build your roster. I'm going to give you a chance then. And if that doesn't work, then we'd make a move. But yeah, I don't, right now I'm kind of 50-50. I think it could go either way.
Let me say one other thing. We got about 2 minutes. There's been a lot of complaining about the contract Ray Tanner gave Lamont Paris. I don't think some of y'all understand the contract. Yeah, he gave him $4 million. And it's going up to $5 million. I get it on that. But I also appreciate South Carolina actually investing in a coach for a change. And let me just say this. If Lamont Paris had gone to Ohio State and was having success, y'all would be losing your mind. In terms of the buyout is actually a very school-friendly buyout. Ray Tanner negotiated 65. South Carolina owes Lamont Paris, if they were to fire him this year, 65% of his remaining contract, which would end up being just a little over $12 million. And supposedly it could be paid out over the course of 4 years.
Right.
So you're only talking $3 million a year, which actually shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah,
shouldn't be a problem.
Again, we don't know all the specifics of the financials with South Carolina, but again, decisions coming soon. Only got a couple more games left, and we'll react to whatever happens. I'll say that much.
All right, we've cut the air conditioner on for Mr. Terry Ford so that he does not lose his mind. And darn you, Dave, for yesterday. Completely your fault. We love you, Dave, and thank you so much for helping Austin a little while ago. I do truly appreciate it. Tyler, thank you for helping him a little bit. Don't worry, Dave. I'll talk to Terry for you. I think I can save everything. I think I can smooth it over for you. Y'all have a great rest of the day. South Carolina Army coming up here, and we will be back on Monday to discuss it all. Going to be a great weekend of sports.
That's right. Go America.
I couldn't find boiled peanuts yesterday.
You couldn't? Okay.
Save that. Put a pin in that. We're coming back to that. Y'all have a great day.